days, 13 house guests, 5 invaders, and 1 podcast. This is Isolated Invasion, and I am your host, Pooty, also known as Big Brother Delta. Today we're joined by the winner of Isolated Splintered, Levita, better known as Big Brother Beta.
Hello.
We're also joined by 3-time Stranded All-Star, and most recently Isolated 4, Nate, also known as Big Brother Omicron. Am I pronouncing that right?
However it's pronounced.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
I prefer Omicron because it's more like a transformer.
Yeah, Omicron. Decepticon. That's who you are. All right, so it's been a while since...
We're also
No.
Julie,
Go.
who has not 5 hands.
Okay.
Oh. That's going to have to get edited.
Okay. She thinks that's hilarious. All right, so we've not spoken in a while since I think the Britney boot, a little bit before that even. I don't think we spoke about the Britney boot.
Yeah, I think we recorded the day of it, so it hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a controversy there. We debated ad nauseum whether or not to pull Monet or give her a warning. Ultimately, we decided to give her a warning, and Britney got the boot very tragically.
It was definitely tragic.
Yeah, especially considering she's still active in the Battle Back House.
Yeah, I think that's going to be like probably the tragic boot of the season outside of Gary, maybe.
Whichever of them does not return is the tragic boot.
Right. Yeah, and we're assuming one of them returns, but it could be Brett or whoever, Reagan, I guess. But anyway, I think Britney was a lot of fun. I don't think she was as active as she could have been. That was part of the reason why we went ahead with the eviction, being that, there was Reagan and Britney and Brett and a few others that were somewhat inactive, although none nearly as bad as Monet. But, that's the way the cookie crumbles. You lose some good people early in the season.
Yeah, I think Britney might have had like a bad weekend of activity or whatnot. So I don't think she ever really met the invaders, which was one of the biggest reasons they didn't see a difference between her and Monet.
Right. I don't know. We're going to talk a little bit about Reem's game because she was a big driving force in this, particularly her defense of Monet, which I thought was pretty bizarre. I think she referred to her as having a spiritual connection with Monet, which I have no idea what that means because Monet didn't really talk. But
she's not a spiritual connection as opposed to typing.
Yeah.
No one told me this was happening.
Well, we just decided to.
Very spontaneous.
We just did the intro.
Hello.
Hello. You're now joined by Big Brother Alpha, also known as Nofo, our main host. Nofo, we just talked about Britney's boot and the controversy surrounding Monet's boot.
Oh, yeah. That was sad. I don't know that we made the wrong choice. I wish Britney would have stayed.
I think more than anything, it's going to impact what we do going forward. Like, I think it's probably the correct call fairness-wise. But, we had decided whether or not we were playing to the fairness of an inactive or playing to, the fairness overall. I don't know.
I think in the future, we're going to have to act faster than that with the inactives.
Yeah, ideally, everyone gets a little nudge, but maybe the nudge comes a lot sooner than what we gave.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not put in the position of, okay, well, let's see if she can turn it around. Because I think like 9 times out of 10, they don't turn it around, or they just get pissed off, which is what happened with Monet and Devins to an extent, where they get offended by us calling out their inactivity,
Well, she never logged in again, right?
No, I don't believe she did.
She was pissed off after that.
Yeah, so she came online, saw the warning, yelled at you, never came online again.
Yeah, that's awful.
I mean, whatever. You try to help someone and, no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, so that was Monet. We were talking a little bit about how Reem had a spiritual connection, quote unquote, with Monet, and that's part of the reason why Monet stayed.
Yeah, they just, they talk psychically, telepathically.
I think the best part about that, too, is that to the same people she said that to, 2 days later, she was like, man, Monet was such like a ghost. She did nothing. I never even talked to her.
Yeah. Like, this is bullshit. Why are they keeping around Monet? Like, what? You were the reason. What are you talking about? I don't know. We're going to go into depth on Reem because I think in a lot of ways, as we expected, Reem was a huge part of the season, a huge driving force. But I think it's something totally different than what we expected.
Yeah, absolutely.
We knew she would be kind of bulldozery, but I had no idea she would have like terrible reads.
It's leaning more towards a caricature than a character at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit last podcast about like how we kind of built her up and that is causing her to get a big head. I I think it's a character, like you said. I think she's aware of the character of it. I think she thinks it's better than what it's actually coming across. It's entertaining, but it's not in a positive way, I don't think.
She was playing herself in Coral Islands, and now she is playing the character of what she thinks she was in Coral Islands.
Yeah, that's a good, would you call it Flanderization?
Mhm.
Yeah, she's definitely played up what worked for her in Coral Islands, and now it's kind of ruined the charm of it. She's still so entertaining, but it's a completely different tone.
Yeah, I think, and she's still pretty good. Like she's not playing badly. If anything, she kind of has her hands in all the cookie jars and has not gotten caught yet, which is kind of how she did in Coral Islands. The difference is that I think in Coral Islands, we were much more rooting for her, whereas this time we're just entertained by her. I think, like we're not rooting against her or for her, because I think it's fun to see how incorrect she is a lot of the times here and how right she thinks she is. But at the same time, like I love to watch the train wreck of it,
Oh, definitely. She's put herself in a fantastic position, but she's too stir crazy to let herself stay there.
Right. Yeah, she's totally unaware that she's in a good position too.
Yeah. She's put herself in a great position, but I don't know that she recognizes it. And she keeps looking at things from a perspective that is not accurate.
And she constantly talks about not trusting the people she's closest to. Her closest allies, Annie or Winston, she's always like, I don't trust them, but they trust me. And it's like, how does that work? How do you not trust the people and they're giving you all this information? They're telling you everything. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I think Reem's playing like she doesn't want to be made a fool out of because like she has her guards extremely high up.
Well, she's not succeeding at that game. That's her goal. I mean, not that she's making a fool of herself, more so like she's so ridiculous that it's just funny at this point. Reem, when you listen back to this, we have to kill Reem Mist. It's dead on arrival this season.
Yeah.
It was cute last time, but now it's become like, or maybe she turns it around to where it's so ridiculous now, like, nobody comes between me and my banana,
Yeah, if Reem was playing up the meme, then it'd be funny, but I'm not sure that's what she's doing just yet.
Yeah, maybe for All-Star season, she can go full Rachel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the take you made earlier that I'm not sure if you covered yet, but was the comparison between Reem and late season Daenerys from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, earlier today, I guess we can talk about it now. We were going over the striking comparison of this season to a lot of Game of Thrones characters. Like I think we had Reem obviously is the Daenerys, where she's the cracked queen who comes back and destroys the town, kind of loses her mind a little bit, the Mad Queen. That's a little bit of what's going on this season, where
we start out rooting for her and then we slowly back up.
Yeah, not what we envisioned of a Reem return, but still entertaining. So, we have Reem as Daenerys. We had, I think at one point we said JC was Tyrion, which was just a little person joke. That was low-hanging fruit.
Gary as Ned Stark.
Yeah, Gary as Ned Stark. That's if he doesn't return. If he returns, he's Jon Snow, right?
Yeah. Matt as a Littlefinger of Varys. I'm going through it now.
Yeah, we had mapped out the whole season. I think we compared
Miss Andai.
Yeah, we compared her to Haley as Reem's number 2. Although you viewed her a little more highly than just Reem's number 2.
Yeah, I liked when Haley got compared to late game Sansa.
Yeah, well, I guess we're gonna find out who everyone really. Maybe we'll do the comparison after the season's over.
Yeah, I think I put Courtney as Arya as well.
Yeah, I think that'll be its whole podcast.
Yeah, I think a lot of this cast in particular would enjoy that podcast, actually.
Nerds.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing that happened directly after this was we had a little bit of another meltdown from an alumni. Unfortunately, I think this game is timed. Man, a lot happened. It kind of begged the question and debate amongst hosts of, are we making this too hard? Is this game too hard? Have we finally reached the point where it's not fun and it's just difficult?
And stressful.
Right. To where people are just like, you know what? I got other things to be doing. This is not cool. So we had several events that led to that this last week, not this week. So I guess we should start to go over those. But really, I think it came down to, I'm not sure. I think a lot of it has to do with the times we live in. It's very stressful coming out of the coronavirus and now going into essentially a race war in America. And a lot of people feeling the effects of that in their hometowns. And then also with all this extra free time for a lot of people, I think people are getting very involved in the strategy to a level that we've not seen in a long time for new players. But whatever the case, we had one of our invaders, Michelle, who is going through some serious stuff in her real life right now. She had to drop out of the game. And really, we could tell, the opening weekend for her was pretty bad activity-wise. And then we could tell, like, when she came back, everything was super negative. I feel like a lot of the invaders had a very negative entry into the game. They all kind of complained that it was too hard and that they were all going to get targeted and booted immediately, which did not happen.
Is not how it happened at all.
No, I mean, what ended up happening was Winston won HOH and nominated, was it Rima Michelle or Courtney Michelle?
Courtney and Michelle, and technically Monet, but that is when we pulled her.
Right.
He was not originally planning to nominate Courtney and Michelle, but that day got, complicated.
Right. Then Michelle goes on to win the veto, which she then made like this post to Winston. The game got super personal to an uncomfortable level really quickly. I won't go into detail about that, but essentially outside of game issues crept into the game and made not only Michelle uncomfortable, but also Winston, Annie, and a couple other people, to the point where, we basically had to tell people like, look, let's take a break on this. Let's not discuss this at all. Let's leave that out of the game. Let's come back tomorrow with a fresh face. And I think that's when Michelle just decided, you know what, this is getting to be stressful for me outside of the game. So I need to remove myself, which I think is the right decision.
Definitely nothing but love for Michelle.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
Of course.
Yeah.
And we told her mental health is more important to us than this season. There will be other seasons,
Absolutely. I think the timing just wasn't right, and it was a lot harder on Michelle than I think she was expecting, along with us.
And it's hard especially because we're huge fans of Michelle, and then this season did not go the same way as her last season. On top of that, Reem came into the game with similar issues, obviously not the same issues, but she had a lot going on in her real life as well. But she decided to use the game as a distraction. And I think the difference, well, first of all, isolated affects everyone differently. Stranded affects everyone differently. Each season affects people differently than their previous season. So there's no right answer as to whether someone should play one of these games. What we do know is that it does add stress. So we typically suggest that people don't play. However, a lot of times it could be a distraction if they're having serious real life issues. So, I think both of them played under the assumption it would be a good distraction, something fun for them. And they probably knew that they were both going to play together. I'm not sure, but I would assume. So I think it affected Michelle very differently than it affected Reem. I think Reem is thriving under this environment, playing well or not. She's enjoying her time much more than I think Michelle did. I think that's the ultimate takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle unfortunately decided to leave the game. I think probably fortunately for her, though. I don't think she was having too much fun this season. And then afterwards, we canceled that eviction because Monet had just been pulled after that. And then Michelle left the game. So we decided let's move forward with the game. It was a double elimination week. We had 2 eliminations. So let's move ahead on a positive note. From there, I believe Scotty wins the head of household.
Yes.
Yes, Scotty.
Narrowly beats Annie for it.
So Scotty wins the head of household. He nominates
Kristen and Brett.
Yeah, so Scotty wins the HOH and the veto this round.
He missed JC's head of household. That's what happened.
Oh, that was the Brittany Monet one.
I'm going to pull up this chart. We missed a lot, so...
Yeah, JC's head of household and put up Brittany and Monet. That was when Brittany went home 7-5.
Okay.
And then Winston wins.
Right. And then when does Brett win the veto?
Round 2, the Brittany Monet round.
Yeah, sorry. Brett and Monet were the original nominations, and then Brett wins veto. Brittany gets put up in his place.
I got you. Okay. Yeah, that was an epic moment too. Brett beasting that veto, which was a little bit, there was some controversy there because he had left some of the answers in the name of the images, but Brett had no idea and he still won the competition against JC, who caught on to it. So I thought that was funny.
And I think it's interesting how that pattern is kind of formed where the target keeps winning the veto. I think that's very interesting. It'll be interesting to see if it continues.
Well, it's always more interesting when the target wins the veto. The one person nobody wants to win. That's always fun. So the fact that it's happened like 4 times in a row is awesome.
Yeah, Scotty's the only one who didn't win when they were targeted. Oh, and Michelle, if you count the invaders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess we can talk a little bit before we just breeze through the events that happen. We could talk about like the sides that have formed.
Are we not going to eulogize Brett?
We can eulogize Brett.
The robbed king.
He was so interesting the week he was there. His activity wasn't up to par with the other players, but like on his own, like Brett was he was so much fun to watch. Just because
super unique character.
Yeah.
He was a
Just
fantastic
very, very straightforward. No beating around the bush with Brett. You want to make an alliance?
I love that he called people out every time he won veto or any competition, or was just safe. Just any chance.
He was always, are you voting me? Or he wasn't afraid to ask people tough questions or put them on the spot. He wasn't afraid of anything like that.
B and Chubb stand for business.
Yeah. I think my hope for Brett is that after this is all over, he gets energized by like all the discussion about it and hope will want to come back and play a little bit more active. Because I think if he's active, like he's a top character. He's already a top character just as like a beeline early boot. But I mean, can you imagine a season where Brett is like super active and involved? I think it would be highly entertaining.
Yeah. I would love to see that.
It'd be great.
So yes, Brett unfortunately went early. I think it was his time activity-wise, but we loved the foil of him, winning veto and yelling at the people who nominated him. It was always fun. That's what we want to see. Let's talk a little bit about the alliances in the house. Really, it's a firm side of Reem. Formerly, there was Michelle in the alliance, but now it's Reem, Haley, Courtney. Is that correct?
There's Reem, Haley, Courtney, JC, and Scotty.
Okay.
That is a formal group. I think they've just recently named themselves the Spice Girls. So it's still going. That was kind of the first alliance to form with Michelle in it. And then there's also Reem, Courtney, Annie, and Winston. They did a little side deal.
Okay.
And then Haley did a side deal with Rachel and Annie.
Where does Kristen, Matt, and Reagan fall into all this?
Kristen and Reagan don't fall much of anywhere. They fall kind of on the outs. Matt is also on the outs, but he has been invited into group chats and he manages to get more information than the other two of them do. But I think most of the house guests at this point have called Matt some form of slimy snake or rat.
We love to see it. Let's talk about Flick and Reem, who did not come into the house very friendly, but have since formed kind of like a ceasefire. They say that they're working together. They certainly talk a lot now. I don't know how much they actually are working together. I think that's going to be a developing storyline when one of them wins HOH. I think that might come into play. Flick has kind of really gone under the radar, which is probably good for her.
Oh, for sure. I think if Flick would have kept up that level of that attitude that she came in there with, I think if she would have kept that going on, she probably would have been out before Brett. Mm-hmm. I think she's kind of doing what you did in Crash Course, where she's, outwardly just this aggravating bitch, but she's connecting with people very well. And I think she knows to leave that kind of drama on the board and form connections with people and form bonds. So I think she's doing pretty well socially.
Yeah, I can't imagine Flick getting put up by anyone anytime soon, unless it's as like an easy pawn.
Right.
But even still, I think people might even be afraid to put her up out of getting that backlash.
And I think that's a good strategy, or, just a good thing she has going for her.
Yeah, if you could pull that off, it's definitely, which Flick is currently doing, it's a great strategy. No one wants to be shouted at by you, so no one's going to nominate you.
Yeah, I guess if you're looking for pawns, you want the one that's not going to cause a scene against you,
And we still have Matt, Reagan, Kristen in the game, who none of them are going to cause a scene.
Right. It's interesting, though, how these invaders have affected a lot of the cast, particularly Haley, Annie, and Winston. I think it's really, they had big personalities to begin with, but we're starting to see them like really lean into it, I think, a little bit more, especially when Reem and Flick are kind of pushing them in that direction.
Yeah, it kind of gives these new players there's a lot of hesitancy starting out, but then seeing people like Reem and Flick, just such strong personalities, they're like, okay, I can turn it up too.
Yeah, I think the good thing is, though, after that first week, I can't believe it was 1 week, but really after that first week, I think things have settled. The dust has settled. I think people are comfortable with the game, the pace, the stress. And I think now that the invaders have kind of settled down, I think the rest of the cast is kind of relaxing a little bit. I think that might change given another argument coming out, which is bound to happen. I can't imagine people going quietly at this point. So I guess we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have people like Winston and Reem, where Reem really wants to put up Winston. You have all these power players just willing to go after each other. But maybe it's because they don't know if jury started yet. Maybe they don't know if it is time to go into the next gear. They're just pausing on it for now.
Yeah, I think everyone's started to acclimate. I think we're not going to see as much, drama, or I guess complaining is one word for it. Hopefully from now on, we're not going to have any troubles with people with the stress level. I hope everyone's kind of calmed down about that. And as far as jury, I really hope we don't see a big target like Winston or Reem go home tomorrow night before the battle back. I'm really worried about that.
Well, we'll see. Maybe those people will go out and immediately come back in.
Yeah, I think that definitely could happen if it was Reem.
I really want to see a Reem revolving door now.
Now that you mention it, I can't see her going though.
Yeah, I can't see her going though.
Yeah, even if she gets nominated at this point, in the next round, I don't see people voting her out.
Yeah, I mean, we could be completely wrong, but
Haley, Scotty, JC,
it would be shocking. I don't know, man.
I mean, what you should do at that point is if somebody like that ends up on the block, you should just vote them out immediately. But
yeah, true. I guess easier said than done, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Nofo, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think there was an overwhelming sense of negativity where people were... I mean, it was mostly the invaders who really set the tone for the rest of the cast, where...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they came in really upset about the events leading up to the invasion, and then afterwards unleashed on the new players all of their drama. And I think that really dragged down... I mean, I think a lot of the new players loved it. I know reading their confession, they were like, holy crap, this is entertaining as hell. But I think players like Courtney and Reem and Michelle and some of the others, when they really start trashing how unfair things are or how much they hate this cast, or, it really, I think, affects the entire mood of the house. And I think that's what was going on that first week. They were really negative about how unfair it was and how much they hate a lot of these people. So I think that kind of attitude is infectious. And I think that's why so many people were stressed out and negative towards it overall. Whereas now I think that, they didn't go back to back. And now that a lot of the players who were negative about the season are gone, I think we're finally starting to get people used to the rhythm of the game. And I think now we're in a good place morale-wise and entertainment-wise, Because I'll say, I think the first week was some of the most entertaining gaming we've had in a very long time. It was certainly wild to watch. But it was... The
direct contrast between Cum Nose and the Flick's speech to Reem is very distinct.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of firsts this season. I think overall super entertaining. We were worried that these people are just going to fucking all start dropping because it's so much. I mean, a lot went on, but I think now it's okay.
Yeah, definitely entertaining, but at some point, it gets a little overwhelming. So I think things have leveled out. I hope they stay that way with all the stuff going on in the real world at the moment. I don't know.
Hopefully people will start trying to use this as a distraction, more as, putting all of their drama into the game, all of that negativity into the game. I hope people just start looking at this as something fun and, as a distraction.
I think so. I think beyond the stress of the outside world, because we just came out of victory and that was completely a distraction from all the real stressful things going on. That being said, Melinda said, one of our winners essentially quit because of the stress level of her real life affecting her game. That being said, I think overall, there was just more of a positive vibe about the game in victory, whereas here it started off on like a negative vibe. I'm not sure what that was about. I think it just had to do with the circumstances of the invaders, whereas I think now that the invaders are settled and the players are settled, I think we're finally at a place where people can just focus on the game more so than having their real lives creep in.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think we have a lot to look forward to because this week we're going to have another invasion. Hopefully, I don't want to say hopefully it goes smoother because it was entertaining as hell, that last invasion, but I have a feeling it will go a little smoother than the last one. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a reset as well, particularly when we get a new player in there.
Yeah, they'll have a little bit more time. They'll have a day to kind of get acclimated just to the invasion. And whoever comes back, they will have the whole weekend to figure out what their place in the game is. So if it is Gary, I hope he does a lot better this time.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are hoping it's Gary and assuming it could be just based on the challenge field, but we have no idea. Could be Brittany. It could be Brett. Could be Reagan. Not sure.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of, it does look like Reagan is leaving tonight. So
Yeah, which we're happy about because he's less active. And we would not be happy if he was the invader. But hopefully if he is, he'd make the best of it. We just don't see the activity level there that we would like, even amongst the people already gone.
Yeah, even Brittany and Gary whispering sweet whispers to each other in the invaders chat.
I don't know who I want back more between Gary and Brittany, because I think both of them didn't have a real great shake at the game. And I think both of them would be great comeback stories.
agreed. I think either of them would make a great story.
I guess, just let fate handle it, and hopefully whoever comes back doesn't get booted immediately. Or if they do, I hope they go out in a blaze of glory.
Well, at least they'll make the jury.
Oh, that's good. I didn't think about that. Now Gary can bitch from the jury about how much he hates the season.
goes from first boot to first juror.
How much would that suck? Oh, we spoke it into existence for you, Gary.
Tragedy for sure.
Well, would he be the official bad news Brian of Isolated? Oh, Gary. All right.
This is where we add the second returnee at the final four, just so Gary can get fourth as well.
Yeah, he can really victor it. No, I think it'll be good. I think we have a fun outline plan for these guys for the rest of the game. We didn't speak about it, but Winston got the abduction power.
Yeah, I was wondering when we'd bring that up.
I really love that twist. I hope it works out because I could see it becoming a thing in the future.
None of the other house guests suspect the power that the abduction power has. It's a really big advantage if he chooses the right person.
Well, that's what I love about it, is that it's not like an automatic huge advantage like a coup d'etat. This is more like you have to play it right for it to be effective, which I love.
I just want to speak it into existence. I really want him to take control over a Reem HOH.
Ooh. That's
where he planned to nominate her, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
You can't nominate the HOH.
Yeah, if he took her if he used the abduction power on her, he couldn't nominate her. It's just he would basically be the new HOH just secretly.
Right. God, that's gonna be good. If the HOH, if it just so happens, which seems unlikely, but hopefully it does happen, where someone abducts the power of the HOH. Can you imagine that nomination reveal where they're like, wait, what the fuck? I didn't nominate them.
Yes.
Yeah. It would also be really great, if he ends up controlling somebody who gets nominated and wins the veto.
Yeah.
And then they don't pull themselves off.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways it could be really fun. Or it could just be a vote steal at the end of the day.
It could just be a vote steal.
Which I kind of love. I love that it's not a gimme, real overly powerful, but it could be pretty powerful. Yeah. I think if it was me, I'd probably just choose Scotty, assuming he would win something.
Yeah. Scotty is, I think, 4 for 10 so far, and I don't think he's been in every veto, so that's probably 4 for 8, maybe.
Winston's been in every veto. He's basically going to be the new Michelle from ISO3.
I love Winston so much. I'll talk a little bit about each person. I think Winston is fucking incredible. I think he's hilarious. I think he's really likable. I think he's a smart player. He's my favorite far and away this season.
Yeah, Winston's someone whose experience really shows, and that's really... And I say that in a very good way, in terms of you can see that he's seasoned at playing these games and knows how to talk to people to get them to like him.
Yeah, I think we were kind of low on Winston going into this, or at least, we had good hopes for him, but I had no idea he would be this good of a player.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expected this.
So I love it. I think he's one of our all-time bests. Same with Annie. I think Annie's killing it too.
I love Annie.
He straight up seduced Annie in the game.
Well, yeah.
Unintentionally, obviously.
Yeah, Annie and Winston showmance is everything, mainly because they're my 2 favorite players, but also because they're hilarious. And I just love to laugh at confessionals, which also Flick has delivered on. Shout out to Flick's confessionals.
My goodness, shout out to Flick's confessionals. Every single one of them.
Yeah, he's not like super in all the shit so far, probably out of necessity. But his fucking confessionals, man, they crack me up every time.
Flick, Annie, Winston have been the 3 great confessionalists this season.
Yeah.
I love Haley's confessionals too, but they're a little less funny. I just love the way she writes out her strategy.
Yeah, Reams are good for the cringe too. Like, we'll always get a pretty good overly confident quote out of Reem.
Yeah, Haley is also killing it in terms of game strategy. She's in the best position so far.
Yeah, this cast has a really great synergy. Like everyone kind of meshes very well together. You know, we have some conflict between, you know, Reem and Reagan, Reem and Flick, but you also have like these very strong dynamics between Annie and Winston, Courtney and Reem. The cast is working out really nicely. I'm really happy with them.
Yeah, this week's not over, but I would say so far of the two recent isolated 3 and 4, I think this one has been the best so far.
Mm-hmm.
Now that will depend on how it finishes out because those other seasons had fairly strong finishes. But of the people left, I mean, we've gotten lucky with the boot order too. So,
yeah.
You know, there's a lot of room left for a lot of entertainment. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and just to make sure we cover everyone, like even the people who we didn't mention as being fantastic, like JC, Kristen, Matt, are all very interesting in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
God,
and that's not even an insult like it usually is.
Right. And we were talking about it. Like, I think JC and Scotty have huge potential. Even though they're not the most entertaining right now, they're certainly in the mix. And I think, you know, even JC and Scotty had like great early game showings when they were HOH. You know, there was some good drama there. So I think given the right scenario, I think any of these people will step up to the plate. We're hoping. But I don't think that there's much fat left in this cast, really.
Even Kristen in this cast, like, she's like when she's been talking and been active, she's been funny, she's been charming, she's just not really in the group.
Here's what I'll say about Kristen. I think we were kind of right about her strategy game before going into the season. But I think her as a character and her for her entertainment value, she has definitely surprised me a lot. Like, she is a lot of fun, and I'm glad that we did end up taking a chance on her.
Yeah, and I think even the people like Matt and Rachel, who are under the radar, they're super interesting people. They're both some of our more, you know, older contestants, but also mature mentally, where that shows in how they're playing the game. And I think going forward, they each have huge potential to be very big players this season. So I'm interested. I'm hoping that is realized. I'm interested to see how it plays out. Mm-hmm. Particularly, I think Matt has a lot going for him. He could just get in some position of power. I think that would be really interesting.
Matt and Rachel are stars of a different season. I think they're just overshadowed by the fact that we have Winston, Annie, Reem, Flick, Courtney. I think they're just overshadowed. I think if this was a different cast, those two would probably be standouts. And it's just not how it shook out this time.
I think that they were standouts before the Invaders came in too. You know,
mm-hmm.
And I think they've kind of retreated a little bit into their shell. When you have people like Flick and Reem shouting at each other, it's kind of hard not to.
Yeah, if they're able to be in a place when the game goes to the next gear where they're at least somewhat comfortable, I think they could still be stars.
Yeah, I mean, I won't speak this into existence because I don't want it to go this way. But let's say worst case scenario, quote unquote. Let's say we just lose all the Invaders back to back to back starting now. I don't think we end up with a terrible season after that. You know, I think there's still a ton of great players here, even the ones that have been kind of under the radar. I think there's room for them to step up and really become contenders.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about the season that we're talking about it already being so entertaining. Yet we're also talking about, when the game goes into the next gear, or, you know, it's still like we're still building up to things. This tension is still like rising as we wait for these sides to really come out and clash with each other and to see how people outmaneuver each other when they need to. I think it's going to be fascinating, however it turns out.
Yeah, well, it's only day 12.
Can you imagine Flick on jury?
Yeah, it's only day 12 of a 30-day game. So really, we're only a third of the way through. It feels like so much longer, though. It really, that first
really
week
does.
was such a doozy. Yikes. But, you know, hey, you know, it's interesting. I think, you know, Nofo, you were like, we really lucked out with the last 3 seasons. They were great. And I was like, as long as we have interesting people, we'll have an interesting outcome, you know.
And really, this season really cast itself.
We just lucked out with a back catalog of apps that were pretty good.
Yeah, and then we had 2 recommendations, of course, as well. So
yeah, but that's okay. I mean, those are our recruiters.
Definitely. Recommendations are always great.
1 out of 2.
Yeah.
Oh no, at Devon's.
And it's almost the reverse in which one showed up compared to their recommenders.
Yeah. Maybe that's the key. Like an under the radar, ho-hum stranded player gives us good recruits. They're good recruiters.
Yeah, Devon's, to be fair, knew exactly what it was going in because he had a lot of regrets over how he played stranded. And so he knew to prepare Scotty for it.
Yeah, and I think we love a comeback story where someone regrets not playing harder. And I think it bodes well for Devon's future too.
I mean, yeah, I'm just looking in the mirror here.
Yeah. All All right. Well, so I guess let's wrap it up. What do we think? Predictions so far. I guess what we think who will come back and guess who will win if that's changed.
I'm going to predict a Gary comeback, and for a winner, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Courtney.
Okay.
Could see that.
Levita?
I'd probably stick to Haley as a winner. I do think Gary might be able to take this battle back, though, based on the challenge it's going to be.
Okay.
I agree that Courtney and Haley are the smart money, so I'll go Scotty. or can I take the field?
Yeah, you could. I don't know. That's weird. I'm gonna stick with Winston. I think Winston and Annie give me huge Luke and Jen vibes, which is a deep dive from ISO 1. But no foe will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
So,
I need to find Jen again. I hated Jen in ISO 1, but looking back, she was definitely a star.
yeah. So I think I'm gonna go with Winston still. I think Annie could win, but I think those two are gonna go very far, very very far, like final 3. So that's my prediction. All right. Well, I guess that will close us out. We look forward to the rest of this week. I guess we'll catch up on the weekend after we get our invader coming back from the grave. We'll see if our predictions are right. I too think it's going to be Gary.
It'll be really interesting to see who that final person is that goes before the battle back.
If it's not Gary, he's gonna have to have collapsed his tower at like the last possible minute. That's what's gonna have to have happened.
What you mean?
Because I mean, this is gonna be a challenge where you can mess up right at the very end and lose.
Yep.
Yeah.
You totally can. It's an awful challenge. I hate it.
Yeah. It's a bitch, this challenge. It's a little bit of a crapshoot. I don't know if someone like Brittany, who's never played, will get used to that, posting on the seconds. But we've been surprised before, so who knows? It's anyone's game, really.
Yeah, I'm really hoping it's a Gary or Brittany.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see.
Well-
We'll see if the person going out after Reagan is
Yeah.
a comp beast. That would really change the game, I think. If it's like Scotty or Reem or someone who's really good at challenges, I don't think they have much competition in the evictees, So we'll see. All right, guys. Well, I guess we'll close it out if no one else has any thoughts that we didn't get to cover.
I think we're good.
I think we've got a lot of potential winners here, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think overall we have a winner of a season so far. It's been really good. So,
I would not be angry if most of this past one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe our weakest winner would be someone like Rachel.
Rachel? Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be an amazing winner under any other.
Yeah. So I mean, really, I'm not even gonna say it, but I mean, I think you can infer what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx it. I'm just thinking, there's not a whole lot of ways this could go wrong and end up with a bad winner or a bad outcome.
I know you're saying you don't want a inactive, boring person to win, of which may or may not be nominated this week.
Well, he's going. I mean, I'm pretty sure at this point he has all of the votes. I'm just saying I don't see this season having a bad outcome.
Right. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. No, I think even a bad winner can be an amazing season. So overall, this season has been really good so far. I think like Levita was saying, there's massive potential. So I can't wait to see what happens. I think we'll close out the podcast now, but we look forward to seeing what happens. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Tim, say bye.
Bye.
There you go.